I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So let's just take 3 full inhalations and exhalations to kind of bring our minds here to the place, whatever place that may be, but to bring your body and mind together. So you can take a really full breath without like pushing or stretching too much, but just making sure that your lungs get really full. And then you can pause at the top for just 1 beat and then exhale fully without collapsing, but definitely a full exhale. And then we'll do that 3 times. So hopefully that makes you feel a little bit more grounded. You can check in with yourself, your body, if you're feeling any tension anywhere. Also take another breath, kind of direct it to wherever you are feeling tension. For me, it's almost always in my shoulders and neck, so I have to really focus my breathing and my spaciousness there. For you, it might be your low back or your hips, but as you inhale, you can focus that spaciousness to wherever feels tight. And also, before we start, check in with yourself about your posture. If you're sitting on the floor on a cushion and you have your legs folded, just want to make sure that you're sitting on both of your sit bones equally. If you're sitting in a chair, do the same thing. Check that you're sitting on your sit bones equally. And then also make sure that your feet are fully planted on the ground, flat. Sometimes you need a pillow or something under your feet, depending on how tall you are, but that helps you feel a little bit more grounded if your feet are touching fully. So then you can feel how it feels in your spine and adjust yourself if you feel like you're not sitting as upright as possible without forcing anything, because you don't want to spend the whole time feeling like you're forcing yourself to sit up straight. This is a short practice, and we want to mostly be thinking about purification. So we don't want to be thinking about how uncomfortable we are. So just sit up as straight and tall as you're able to, well, without thinking about it, really. And then if you're, you can keep your eyes open if that helps you to stay alert. It's good to close your eyes totally and then crack them open just a little bit, kind of facing down in front of you. So it's letting a little bit of light in. But some people feel more comfortable with their eyes closed or fully open. So whatever feels like it works for you, it's good. And again, I think it's like the most important part of what we're doing tonight for these 30 minutes is purification. So like your posture and your, whether your eyes are open or not, I think is less important um, than contemplating negativities and positivity. So keep that in mind too. So tonight we're doing Vajrasattva practice in the context of the four opponent powers. So the first power, the power of regret. So it's important here before we start thinking about regret to understand regret is not guilt. Regret is feeling sorry that you did something. So, like if we feel guilty, usually we feel guilty because we've disappointed someone or we're going to get in trouble. And that's not what regret is about, right? Because there's nobody that's going to absolve us or get us into trouble. It's more that we will have to experience the results of whatever negative seeds, that we've sown. So we want to think about it in that context, in the context of karma, whatever understanding that you have of that, from the most basic, ideas of, what you do comes back to you, all the way up to any advanced understanding that you might have of it. If you've taken any kind of traditional teachings on karma, you can think about it in that way too, of course. But any level is good, and any level can do this practice. Just thinking you don't want to experience the suffering results of any negativities. So you're going to do this practice. To purify those negativities. So as we're generating regret, you can think very specifically about a specific instance or instances, or you can think more generally. You can think about just today, or you can think about since we did the practice together last week. You can think about lifetimes of negativities that you may have engaged in. The main point is that you're generating this regret, not wanting to experience the suffering results of negativities that you've created with your body, speech, and mind. So I'll give you a minute to kind of think about that and think about specific instances or general negativities. Generate that regret. And the stronger that you can generate regret, I think the more powerful your resolve will be when we get to the fourth opponent power. So let's take a few minutes now. So then you can think, well, what do I do now? What can I do? I've generated this regret. Who can help me? If there's no person who's going to absolve me, how can I purify? So the second power is the power of reliance. And this is relying on the Buddha, in this case, the doctor, who has developed these methods that we can use to purify. So it's not that Buddha is purifying us or that we're asking Buddha for forgiveness, but that Buddha has shown us these methods and we can rely upon these methods. So I've shared the image of Vajrasattva on the screen if you need that. So we're going to now visualize Vajrasattva above the crown of our head. Vajrasattva is manifesting as a young, they say around 16-year-old, beautiful, blissful white light. So when you're visualizing Vajrasattva on the crown of your head, you can use the image, which is very flat, but you can visualize three-dimensional Vajrasattva, and the color is more like light and like a flat color. So if you can somehow get an image of that in your mind, like translucent light, blissful, radiant light. I always think it's like really good. Like when I think of really good, I think of this beautiful white light. So Vajrasattva sits on the crown of our head on a lotus. Very beautiful. And then I'm going to recite the refuge 3 times. You can join along if you like, or you can just think about relying on the Buddha and these methods to purify. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. By this practice of meditating on Guru Vajrasattva, may I reach Buddhahood so as to benefit all sentient beings. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, I go for refuge until I am enlightened. By this practice of meditating on Guru Vajrasattva, may I reach Buddhahood so as to benefit all sentient beings. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. By this practice of meditating on Guru Vajrasattva, may I reach Buddhahood so as to benefit all sentient beings. So then we also think when we're contemplating the power of reliance, about developing compassion. And in order to develop compassion, we need to consider other sentient beings, both the sentient beings that we've harmed and the sentient beings that have harmed us. So we will generate compassion based on those 2 ideas. So you can think about those that have harmed you, and you can think about them in the context of them having to experience the suffering results of the negativities that they, or the harm and the negativities that they gave to you. So you can think you want to purify so that you can benefit all of these beings. So then the third power, the power of the remedy. So this is like the medicine. Tonight we're going to recite the Vajrasattva mantra. I put the long mantra on the screen. So there's a few stages of this. We're going to purify the body, then the speech, then the mind, and then we're going to purify all the teeny tiny imprints of body, speech, and mind. We'll do three, I will recite three long mantras, and you can either recite the long mantras along with me, and I put the mantra on the screen for you. Or you can recite the short mantra, which is Om Vajrasattva Hum. And you can just recite as many of those as you like. So purifying the body, we visualize Vajrasattva is still on the crown of our head, beautiful, blissful white light. And he sends this powerful white nectar down, coming very forcefully into the crown of our head, pours into our entire body and fills us up completely. And it's like pressure, and out of the bottom part of our body, this inky liquid, which is all the negativities, comes out and disappears into the ground. Not a trace of it is left. So you can visualize that. And that inky liquid is all the negativities of body. You can visualize this while we recite the mantra. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopa Tita Dido Mebawa Sutokayo Mebawa Supokayo Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Chidem Shidem Kuruhum Ahahaha Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Maha Samaya Sattva Ahum Pe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopa Tita Dido Mebawa Sutokaya Mebawa Supokaya Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Chidem Shidem Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Ma Samaya Sattva Ahum Pe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopa Tita Dida Mebawa Sutokaya Mebawa Supokaya Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Chidem Shidem Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Ma Samaya Sattva Ahum Pe. So then you can feel really happy that all the harm that you've ever done with your body is completely purified and is completely gone now. Next, we'll do the purification of speech. Vajrasattva on the crown of our head sends powerful nectar down into the crown of our head. Again, forcefully enters our body, filling us up completely. And this time, it's a bit like a water glass. We're filled with this nectar. And it just kind of comes out the top. All the dirty negativities of speech comes out the top half of our body and is completely absorbed into the universe, not one atom left. So you can visualize this as we recite the mantra 3 times. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopa Tita Dito Mebawa Sujokayo Mebawa Supokayo Mebawa Anurakta Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Chirim Shirim Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabhama Samaya Sattva Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopa Tita Dito Mebawa Sutokayo Mebawa Supokayo Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Chirem Chirem Kuru Ha 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 O Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabhava Ma Samaya Sattva Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopa Tita Dito Mebawa Sudokayo Mebawa Supokayo Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Shirem Shirem Kuru Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabhava Ma Samaya Sattva Ahum Pe. Again, you can feel really happy. Your speech is now completely purified. Not one atom left. Now Guru Vajrasattva sends powerful beams of light which come in through the crown of our head. It's like a light going on when you flip the switch. Darkness, and then the next moment, light. So you can think like that. The darkness of the negativities of our mind are completely dispelled. So instantly all those negativities are purified, not one atom left. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopa Tita Dito Mebawa Sutokayo Mebawa Supokayo Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Shirem Shirem Kuru Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabhava Samaya Sattva Ahum Pe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopa Tita Dito Mebawa Sutokayo Mebawa Supokayo Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Chirem Shirem Kuru Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabhava Samaya Sattva Ahum Pe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopa Tita Dito Mebawa Sutokayo Mebawa Supokayo Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Chirem Chirem Kuru Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabhava Samaya Sattva Ahum Pe. So we can be really happy. All the negativities of mind are the source of all of our suffering. have been totally purified. And then lastly, purify even the tiniest imprints, negativity of all three: body, speech, and mind. So Vajrasattva again sends light, and again it fills you completely, and completely takes away even the slightest hint of the negativities of body, speech, and mind. They say it's like when you put garlic in a jar and you take the garlic out, which we've done already, but there's still a smell. So this is what we're taking out with this last mantras here. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopa Tita Dido Mebawa Sutukayo Mebawa Supokayo Mebawa Anurakta Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Shirim Shirim Kuru Ha O Bhagavan Sarva Tatakata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabhama Samaya Sarva Humpe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopa Tita Dido Mebawa Sutukayo Mebawa Supokayo Mebawa Anurato Mebawa Sarvasiddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Chiram Shiram Kuru Mao Bhagavan Sarva Tatakata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabhama Samaya Sattva Ahumpe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopa Tita Tito Mebawa Sutukayo Mebawa Supokayo Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Chiram Shiram Kuru Maha Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tatakata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabhama Samaya Sattva Ahumpe. I'm going to say one more long one because I think I skipped part of that mantra. First one. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopa Tita Dido Mebawa Sutokayo Mebawa Supokayo Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarvasiddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Chirim Shirim Kuru Ha Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tatakata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabhama Samaya Sattva Ahumpe. So now we can feel very happy. We can rejoice. We've completely purified, not one atom of negativity left. Even the subtlest negativities have been removed. And that is nice for our next step, the power of resolve. So you can think about how you'd like to, or what kind of resolution you might like to make to not engage in these negativities again. If it's something that you struggle with, most often, most of us, it's the negativities of speech are kind of the hardest. So those you want to make a resolve that's a realistic amount of time, like maybe even as little as 5 minutes or a few hours or till tomorrow morning, you can make a resolution not to engage in those negativities. If it's something that's a little bit easier, you can use a longer period of time, make that kind of resolution. It's up to you, but it's really important that you keep whatever resolution that you make. So make sure that it's realistic. And also just to keep in mind that whatever resolution you make is also something that kind of keeps you accountable. So it's really good to think about that, because you can remind yourself like, oh yeah, I resolved not to engage in gossip. So sometimes it's good to have it a little bit of a longer resolution and then really work with that in your own mind. It's one little trick I have for myself anyway. So you can think again, Guru Vajrasattva still on the crown of our head, but is extremely pleased. And we can think now that Guru Vajrasattva melts into white light and absorbs into the crown of our head as well and becomes one with us. And then last but not least, we'll do a dedication. So we can dedicate the merit of doing this practice together. And I put it on the screen. As a result of the 3 times merits of myself and others, may bodhicitta, from which the happiness of all sentient beings comes, be generated in the minds of self and other sentient beings without delay, even for 1 second. And that which has been generated, may it increase. As a result of the 3 times merits of myself and others, may emptiness be generated in the minds of self and other sentient beings without delay, even for 1 second. And that which has been generated, may it increase. As a result of the 3 times merits of myself and others, may I, who am empty from my own side, achieve Guru Shakyamuni Buddha's enlightenment, which is empty from its own side, and lead all sentient beings who are empty from their own side to that enlightenment which is empty from its own side, as quickly as possible, by myself alone. And then we can also dedicate for the long lives of our gurus. May all their holy wishes be fulfilled. And also for the thriving of Thupten Norbuling. We might have success and be able to continue to broadcast the Dharma as long as there are sentient beings that need it. Thanks for coming, everybody. I appreciate you. It gives me a chance to practice myself. Have a great week.